Everybody is talking about this. A New York Jets insider has released the first 53-man roster projection for the New York Jets for 2025 with two decisions that are shocking everybody who is reading them. What's up, guys? I'm Matt Long. Welcome to Jets Digest. Before we hop into the video for today, only 39.8% of viewers are subscribed to the channel. So if you are not subscribed, please take a second, hit that subscribe button. It really helps me and Chris out a ton. But let's hop into the news, what we got for today. Coming from New York Jets insider Rich Cimini. No practice today for the New York Jets. A good day to roll out the 53-man roster projection. Now, of course, at the end of the offseason, the New York Jets, at the end of training camp, the preseason, will have to cut the roster down to 53 players, and everyone is trying to predict who are going to be the 53 players that the New York Jets hang on to. Now, Rich Cimini has taken to Twitter this morning to talk about who exactly he's expecting these players to be, and we are just going to take a look, starting off with, obviously, Justin Fields and Tyrod Taylor, but it first gets interesting when you look at the running backs with Breece Hall, Braylon Allen, Isaiah Davis, and Andrew Beck at fullback. All these guys were obvious pickups and obvious for running backs to be on the team. One name that you may expect to be in this room that isn't is going to be Quinnen Williams, who's picked up by the interim GM, Mr. Savage, after our OG GM was fired last season, but you would have expected him to retain his role as the kick returner from last season, but it looks like the New York Jets' new head coaches don't think he's doing well enough, and Rich Cimini here does not believe that Quinnen Williams has done enough at practice so far this season to prove that he deserves a spot over another more deserving player on this list. Now, of course, wide receivers Garrett Wilson, Josh Reynolds are two guys that everyone knows is going to make the team, along with Arian Smith, Tyler Johnson as well. Both guys either drafted or signed by the current New York Jets regime, so we know they're going to make the roster as well. Two surprising names at wide receiver, starting off with Allen Lazard making the team here, according to Rich Cimini. Pretty much only, or not even negative reports coming about Allen Lazard. The news on him is pretty much that he's a ghost at practice and he's not really doing anything super well or super poorly. And that's a problem because this is a player who needs to step up and prove that last year was an outlier for him and that he is a better player than what he's been over the last 2 years if he does want to stick around with the New York Jets. Now, one of the biggest surprises on this list is Xavier Gipson remaining with the New York Jets in this projection. Xavier Gipson, of course, our current kick returner. So I guess if you are looking at Quinnen Williams getting cut and Gipson staying on the team, that would make sense that only one of those guys would be retained. The thing that's surprising is a lot of beat reporters, a lot of news guys for the New York Jets, people with more knowledge than me or you have, they are talking about how Gipson, they don't think he's going to make the team. He's not doing enough at practice. He doesn't have enough. He doesn't add enough to the New York Jets team as just a pure returner and can only do, he's pretty limited as an offensive player, as a wide receiver. But Rich Cimini does think he's going to be making the team. Then you can look down at the bottom at one of the notable cuts, seeing Malachi Corley being expected to be cut only 1 year after being taken in the third round. However, that third round draft capital does not matter anymore. As soon as you have a new GM, it doesn't matter anymore. If you don't believe me, believe Breece Hall, who a couple days ago said, I'm not their guy. Talking about the new GM for the New York Jets, Darren Mougey. He knows that even that he was a second-round pick and really good out of the second round, he still knows that his job is not safe. If you're not a first-round pick, your job is not safe when a new GM comes in and takes over the team. So Malachi Corley has to show up and show out. He's going to have plenty of opportunities over the course of the preseason games. He's got 3 games. I'm really rooting for him. I thought he was going to be a lot better than he's turned out to be when he was in college. I thought he was going to be, a better pro in the NFL. Was excited that we got him, but so far it obviously has not worked out for him. He's got to develop his route running, got to develop his hands, and he has to show the New York Jets offense that he can turn into not as good as Rashee Rice, but a Rashee Rice light type of player, a guy who can catch tunnel screens, a guy who can handle design touches, and most importantly, a guy who's not going to drop the football on the 1 yard line, which is who he currently is right now. Moving down the list farther, tight ends, Mason Taylor, of course, Jeremy Ruckert as the backup, and then Stone Smart is who Cimini is expecting to take that final spot as the New York Jets tight end. Stone Smart, of course, picked up in the offseason, projected to be a pretty much a pure receiving tight end. I would expect out of this group, Ruckert would be doing the most run blocking, but that has to improve. his run blocking over the past couple of seasons has not been as good as it really should be, but he still has time. He's still a very young player. Now, getting into the offensive line that has been pretty terrible over the last couple of years, but starting with last year and hopefully this year is moving in the right direction. Olu Fashanu, John Simpson, either Tippmann or Josh Myers is who Sweeney has here. He has a slash in between those two guys. One of those guys will be the center. The other guy will probably be out. They won't be cut. They would be traded. You know, we know what Tippmann brings to the table, but Josh Myers has that connection as he was the starting center for Ohio State when Justin Fields was the starting quarterback. So he already has a built-in connection with Justin Fields. Joe Tippmann was not drafted by his current regime. Josh Myers was picked up out of free agency by the current regime, so he also has a leg up there. The place where we expect Joe Tippmann to have the leg up is last year he was a better center, but we're going to see those two guys battle it out as one of these premier positional battles for the New York Jets going to next season. Elijah Vera Tucker also on the team, obviously Armand Membo, Max Mitchell, Chuma Okorafor, and I believe it's Xavier Newman as well coming in, rounding out the depth of the offensive line. Also cutting Carter Warren, a 5th-round pick out of Pitt from a couple years ago. Him coming over with Israel Abanikanda. And then moving on to the defense, obviously Quinnen Williams could be rounding out the middle of the line with Johnson and Will McDonald, both of our first-round picks. Obviously, also we have Byron Cowart, Jay Tufele, Michael Clemens, Fedarian Mathis, Tyler Barron. We got Watts, and then we're going to have Mason Taylor III. The surprise here is the notable cut, Derek Nottie. So far, you know, I'm someone who is constantly looking up New York Jets news, looking up rumors, pretty much everything that you would expect someone who runs a channel like this to be, you know, up on. And one of the stories I'm hearing is that Derek Nottie is currently expected to be the number 2 defensive tackle next to Quinnen Williams. So this is the first news report that is looking like he is not, you know, doing extremely well, which is what everyone else has been saying. So very surprising that Rich Cimini does have Nottie as a cut. Also surprising are the other cuts that he's made here. The linebackers being obviously Jamie Sherwood and Quincy Williams. And we have Marcelino, McCrary, Ball, Jamin Davis, and Francisco Mauigoa. Francisco. He has a brother named Francis. I'm not a casual. His parents named him and his brother the same thing. Don't get mad at me if I mix them up. Also, getting cut, Zaire Barnes, another very, very surprising cut. I would be shocked if Nottie and Barnes were cut from this team. Moving on to the cornerbacks, obviously Sauce Gardner, Brandon Stevens, Michael Carter, 3 guys absolutely locked in. Sauce Gardner, contract extension. Brandon Stevens, signed by this current regime. Michael Carter, big money in terms of nickel corners. I also have Thomas, Boyd, and Quantez Stiggers filling out the rest of the cornerback room. You know Aaron Glenn is going to want to make sure he has a lot of cornerbacks. As a former defensive back himself, he wants to make sure we are very strong at that position. You know he's going to put some extra pride into making sure that position is as strong as it possibly can be. Finishing this off with the safeties, Andre Sisco, Tony Adams, Malachi Moore, Josh Oliver, Jarius Monroe. Pretty solid safety room. Obviously not what it used to be with Jamal Adams and Marcus May, but very, very, very solid. Sisco coming over in free agency, as I'm going to expect him to be the strong safety, and then Malachi Moore, I expect him to step up and overtake that job from Tony Adams by week 4 or 5. And then JBC, Jarek Bernard Converse, Rich Cimini here has predicted as a cut candidate. That's not as surprising as the other 2 defensive cut candidates on this list, but someone I would expect to make the team, but we'll see. Obviously, you can only take so many guys, and we will have practice squad positions available for these players if they do end up getting cut. Kicker, Nick Folk. We expect him as the kicker with the highest made field goal percentage over the last 2 years in the NFL. Obviously expect Nick Folk to go ahead and win that starting kicker job. We got McNamara as our punter, and of course, the longest tenured Jet, Mr. Thomas Hennessy, as a long snapper. Surprising absolutely nobody after a report of a ton of surprises. That obviously something that New York Jets fans can be very well accustomed to. But let's see how this turns out. Very excited to see the New York Jets in their first preseason game, even though first preseason game for the NFL is tomorrow. The Jets still over a week off, but very excited to see what happens when we go up to play the Green Bay Packers. But if you enjoyed the video, please hit the like button, hit the subscribe button if you're new, and go Jets.